You're listening to Productivity Monsters in the Morning. We are the energy vault your real estate business needs to get you up and out and excited and productive for the day. We go over trending topics and things that really matter in the market of the moment. Here are your hosts, Tiffany Hampton and Brooke Silva.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back. We are back on our Tuesday and Thursday schedule. Tiffany and I have both had insane travel.
I know. I feel like we're going to be traveling twice a month for the rest of the year.
I think we are.
Yeah.
I think
out of the region.
Yes. We do have some Texas travel coming up with Mega Camp. But yeah, we are back to our Tuesdays and Thursdays, and gosh, does it feel good to be home, back in my office, getting things done. So one of the things I read almost every day, I do this thing where I flip and I put a ribbon and I read, because that's the type of book this is. And after getting through a week of spending a week with our president of the company in a training, I was like, this is the perfect thing to talk about, which is victim mentality. And the quote today from the Motivation Manifesto is, no one around us can tear us from progressing towards our dreams. Believing otherwise is accepting the role of victim in life. Our day is ultimately our choice.
Yep.
And it goes on and on and on. And it talks about the power of saying no and responsibilities. But why do you think so many of our agents live in victim mentality?
I think personally, I think it's hard to go against the grain. So if the rest of the world is going down this route, like, let's just take you and I for an example, right? We have 6,000 people in our ecosystem, right? We don't touch on all of them. And that's just in business, never mind personal. And what's the energy that's always delivered?
There's always, we have said this, and there's more tactful ways to say it, but I'm just going to say it how I know how to say it, which is your lack of urgency does not constitute an emergency.
Right.
What do I mean by that? You refuse to go to the training, and I'm using the word refuse. You made a choice to pick something over, and now when it's a deadline, and you expect everybody to drop it for you because the market center's there to help. And while we will, there may be times when somebody artfully declines to help you at that time, because there are also resources to help you get almost anything done in this world, unless it's a legal matter. And the chapter goes into that. There's always the person in the office that says, hey, can I have a favor? I need one more thing. Oh, I'm so sorry to bother you.
They're not, well, let's just talk about not being an independent thinker. Like, here's my deal. People look at my calendar and you will see education in my calendar. I know, don't go there. Especially
Where's your lunch?
The next, I can't even. Anyway, but when you look at my calendar, there is education almost every day, whether it's a 45-minute podcast, it's a book, it's a training, whatever the case.
Every day.
Because here's the deal. You grow to the extent, right? You grow
right, like you put it where there's fish, right? You put a fish in a tank and it only grows as big as its environment. You have a little catfish in a tank this big. Then you put the catfish in a bigger tank and a bigger tank and a bigger tank. And all of a sudden, you've got this massive catfish living in your house, and it's only going to grow as big as its surroundings.
And to go down a personal level, don't hate on people that choose to live that life, right? Because that whole victim mentality, well, that person over there got X, Y, and Z. You have no idea what that person over there had to go through to get X, Y, Z.
And I think that's what's really hard about some of the education we have, is that as a newer agent, you may go to a panel or you may go to something and you want that now. Whereas the person sitting in front of you speaking about their experiences, this was not instant. This was blood, sweat, tears. This was sweat equity. This was brain equity. There is no instant in this world.
Yeah. This
And
reminds me of a podcast that I listen to, like, wealth is not just money.
No, wealth is retaining money and understanding how to work with it to continue on the legacy of wealth.
Wealth is also, who do you have in your life?
Right.
Wealth is also, what do you have between your ears? Like, wealth is, and I don't remember all of them, but there's 5 different types of wealth. It's not, money is the last of them, right?
It is.
And you look at, and I'll use myself as an example. I chose to have a child at 20 years old, right? I chose to get into a marriage that wasn't a great marriage. I chose to do all of these things. And yet, so those 5 wealths, they were up and down, up and down. The one thing that stayed constant through all of that, and was probably my saving grace, was the fact that I never stopped growing and learning.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I mean, I look at Mo Anderson, right? She could have played the victim card.
Big time.
At what age, and I don't remember the exact, I think it's like 55, 59. At what age did she meet Gary Keller? And then now she has this, she has it, but she didn't have that prior to.
No.
So to your point of looking at that panel,
Let's take one thing. Take one thing.
And what journey did they ride? We are so different.
Mm-hmm.
So different.
So different.
You and I run, like, we are good friends in business and personal, but we are polar opposites.
Right. And we can agree to disagree, and still at the end of the day, I'll go in for the hug, you'll push me away, but I know you still love me.
I'll roll my eyes.
Sometimes you accept it. You just stand there with your arms by your side. Every now and then I get a hug back. But you and I are also sponges, and we yearn, and you and I love to be in rooms where we get to absorb. And it's really hard in our roles sometimes that we forget we're moderators, because I'm like, oh, that was really good. I want to write that down. I'm running this class. I can't, like.
Thank God for recording.
Right. But at the end of the day, we're still, you and I will never stop learning. There is something, I learned something every single day. Something as silly as my AC compressor seized in the Jeep. It was not a fun past 3 weeks traveling all around our region in the Jeep and with a guest from another region that I was transporting. So when I went to our mechanic, who is also our uncle, he loves to learn and he's always taking classes, but he likes to educate us. So that way, when we hear things or we look at things at our vehicles different, we're always making sure that our vehicles are running on tip-top condition, because he has conditioned us to think differently when we get in our car every day. He's a mechanic leader, right? He makes me think different about how I treat something.
Yeah, well, in health, right? Like, I have a bunch of health things going on, and I desire to know the basic so that the conversation with the expert goes beyond the basic. Like, I know X, Y, and Z basic. Now educate me so that I can make, because we're not supposed to be the expert in everything.
No.
We need to know when to go get help.
Correct.
And we know, and it goes back to bringing it completely back around to your personal and business plan, right? We call it your GPS. If it's not on your GPS, you should not be learning it.
Correct.
And
There's a time. Park it.
Right. And we get into this habit of quote unquote shortcuts. Is it on your GPS? No. Then why are we even talking about it?
Are you at a ceiling that you're about to break through? And you and I talk often about this, and Jay Papasan talks about having parking lots for things as simple as classes, where you hear something, you park it. And then you decide at the end of the class or the end of a season, is this worth putting into place into my business or personal life right now? It's just because it's a not now doesn't mean it's a not ever.
Yeah. Well, and the 411, which is the second part of the GPS. And honestly, for those that are part of KW, you build your 411 before you build your GPS, because your 411 has your right side. But if you look at the newest 411 template, at the bottom, it has a parking lot.
Yep. And I love parking lots. I use parking lots in my classes. I'm going to integrate them, a piece of paper for my students to have now going forward. I had a whole separate part of my Remarkable that's a parking lot for every class we go to, because I know I'm going to hear something or I'm going to want to ask a question that's probably going to be answered at some point during that session. So get some education, sit in some classes. We got to get rid of these limiting beliefs that you're not going to learn anything or you know everything about something, because you're going to learn something when you sit down in one of the classes we have for you at KW. The seasons of your life change, right? That's why we take Bold multiple times. It's why we take Ignite multiple times. It's why we have to do anything multiple times until we get it right. And Mark King said something that was so poignant last week. And he said, unless you can teach something without notes and without books or without looking at the screen, you have truly not mastered it.
Well,
You know,
we just had a master class 2 weeks ago. And what did we learn about that?
Eye-opening.
Yeah, they all want to be creative.
They want to be creative. They don't want to stick to the models. You can be creative once you master the models. End of story.
Like, does McDonald's follow the model for the French fries, or do they do their own thing?
It's the same.
And let's just talk about the Cajun French fries at McDonald's. There were times when they wanted to do Cajun. I might be a Jersey thing, whatever, but they broke away from the model of the French fry and they added a Cajun fry. But you don't hear Cajun fries on any menus in McDonald's anymore because it was creative and the audience did not want it.
No, they want their regular good arched French fries, and they want it salty and hot and burn your mouth and fall between the seat of your car when you're driving.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Stay out of victim mentality, friends. If you're having problems with that, reach out to one of us. We'll slap you around. We'll
and
help you.
Whatever you're doing at this moment, if it doesn't meet your personal goal, your physical goal, or your business goal, or your wealth goal, should it be being done? Like, stop binge watching Netflix unless you're relaxing.
Which is something I don't watch any TV. So
bye.
bye. Have a good day, friends.